All right, now we're going to walk through exercise 8-13 from chapter 8. All right, so in this problem, we're looking at the periodic inventory system. So you've got the periodic inventory system. Remember on Friday, before class, we were going over the perpetual inventory system. Now the periodic inventory system is very different, but we're still looking at the three cost flow methods, so FIFO, LIFO, and average cost. So we're going to look at FIFO first. Now for each method, you have to figure out what your cost of goods available for sale is. So you have to start with your beginning inventory. And where do we get that from? They give that to us, right? On August 1st, they tell us that we have inventory on hand of 2,000 units at $6.10 each. So we have a total of $12,200 of inventory. Then we have to look at the purchases that were made during the period. So on 8/8, we had a purchase. We had our purchase of 10,000 units at $5.50 each. So does that come out to 55,000? Then we had another purchase on 8/18 of 6,000 units at $5 each. So that comes out to 30,000. When you add all of these up, 97,200, these are goods available for sale. So under each method, we're going to be concerned with what our goods available for sale are. And remember, that's 18,000 units, because that's taking the 2,000 plus the 10 plus the 6. Says that we have 18,000 units that can be available for sale. So we've got units and our dollars. Now we're focused on FIFO here. And the problem is asking us to come up with what our cost of goods sold would be on the income statement and what our inventory would be on the balance sheet. So first, let's set this up. We have our cost of goods available for sale of 97,200. Right? We solved that right over here. We need to figure out what our ending inventory is. So we're going to say less ending inventory. Once we figure out what that is, we can fill that in, and then we'll be able to determine what our cost of goods sold is. So how are we going to figure out what our ending inventory is? Well, they tell us on August 31st, we had 3,000 units left. Right? We have to figure out which cost we're going to use to cost those units. Now, we're using FIFO, first in, first out. If there are 3,000 units left, and it's first in, first out, this layer would have gone, because that was the first out. This whole layer would have gone. That was the next layer out. Then we look at this layer, and we're going to say only 3,000 is left from this layer, and we're going to price it at this $5 per unit. So under FIFO, we're looking at the layers. figuring out which layer is remaining in inventory. So we've got 3,000 units at $5 per unit. Should give us 15,000 units. That's what is remaining as a cost of inventory on hand at the end of the month. So we've got 15,000 that we can fill in here as our ending inventory. Take that out of inventory to get our cost of goods sold, which would be 82,200, right? Because here's what we had to sell, here's how much is left, so we're able to back right into the cost of goods sold. So we're not concerned about those sales that happened on August 14th and August 25th. So to answer the question, your cost of goods sold is 82,200 and your inventory is 15,000. Okay? So now I'm going to erase some things and move on to LIFO. Hold on just a second. I'm just going to erase some things here to start with our FIFO. All right, I'm just going to move on to the next slide here. So now looking at this based on LIFO, we have our same things up here, our beginning inventory of 12,200. Our purchases, remember this was 2,000 units at $610, and then purchases of 10,000 at $550, and then purchases of 6,000 at $5. Right, to come up with the 55,000 and the 30,000 to get to what we had, the 97,200, adding up all the units, 18,000 units. So this is our goods available for sale. Then again, we have to plug in our cost of goods available for sale. So cost of goods available, the 97,200. Now we're still trying to figure out this ending inventory. So we need to know that in order to figure out our cost of goods sold. So now we're using LIFO. Last in is the first out. So in this instance, this layer is going to go away. The last in is the first out. And then this layer we're only going to eat into, we're going to have 1,000 remaining. Remember, same thing, our ending inventory on hand, they tell us at August 31st is 3,000 units. So if it's last in, first out, this layer completely goes. We have 1,000 left from this layer, 2,000 left from this layer. So we're going to price out this 3,000. 1,000 will be from the layer that you purchased on August 14th at $550. And then you've got your first layer, the 2,000 units at $610, to come up with your ending inventory of 17,700. So that will be your ending inventory here to get to your COGS of $79,000 should be $500. So again, the problem is asking, what's your cost of goods sold for the income statement? Here's your cost of goods sold. What's your inventory in the balance sheet? The $17,700. Okay. Now to look at the average cost, we're going to have the same thing, trying to figure out, so this is average cost under the periodic. So we're still needing to put what our goods available for sale is going to be. So again, we have our 2,000 units from the beginning at 610, our purchase of 10,000 units at 550, and our 6,000 units at $5. Now under periodic, we don't care when these purchases have happened, so we're going to take everything, and you'd have your 12,200, your 55,000, and your 30,000, up with your 97,200 at 18,000 units. Under average cost, you have to figure out what that average cost per unit is. So taking the 97,000 units, 97,200 divided by the 18,000 should give you $5.40 per unit. So now when you're trying to figure out your cost of goods sold, you had your goods available for sale. We've been seeing for the 97,200. Then you need to know your ending inventory. And then we can back into our cost of goods sold number. In this case, we still know it's 3,000 is our ending inventory. They give us that August 31st. It tells us inventory on hand is 3,000 at, we're going to use this average cost at 540. This will give us 16,400 units sold or remaining. So we're going to put in the 16,400, take that out of what's available to back into what our cost of goods sold would be. So it should be, sorry, I made a mistake here. This should be 16,200. So 16,200, again, this should be 16,200. Why can't you erase that? 16,200. So you should have the cost of goods sold of 81,000. So now you know your cost of goods sold for the income statement and your inventory for the balance sheet. So when you're looking at these, you have to be very careful to know which system you're talking about. Is it periodic or perpetual? And which costing method are you looking at? FIFO, LIFO, average cost. Now, for the entries, please refer to problem 8-1, which I walked you through how to book the entries, because for the exam, I'm going to want to make sure that you're familiar with the periodic and perpetual systems, how to record LIFO, FIFO, average cost, and record the entries similar to what you would have seen in problem 8-1.